In this video, it's a 1975 Triumph 2500 assembled in New Zealand. So yes, one of my favourite cars, and it's even brown. We'll get to the colour in a moment, but this is the Mark II generation of Triumph's big saloon, and it has the larger engine. It's very difficult to sum up this car range in one word. It was the 2000, the 2500 and the 2.5, just to really confuse matters. But yeah, they were assembled all over the world. Australia assembled them, New Zealand assembled them, and I think they were assembled in South Africa as well. And for the Mark II, Giovanni Michelotti updated the styling, very much channeling the Stag with this different front end treatment. Really quite a good reworking of the original. Something else that helped was the track was a bit wider at the back, so sort of beefed up the looks again. If you just come in, always loved the little side indicators at a time when such things were not standard fare. Delicious little flute over the rear wheels, so something a bit Nissan Skyline about that, I reckon. And then we got the reworked rear lamps as well. The tail's actually longer on the Mark II by quite some way. It's quite a stubby tail on the Mark I. This again, very in keeping with the rest of the Triumph family, and yeah, very, very smart. The Mark II estate still used the shorter back end, and little ventilation ducts tucked away beautifully in here. See also the Dolomite and the 1300. But yeah, a very, very attractive car, a very successful one, developed for the new executive class along with the Rover P6. People who thought a Vandam Pla was a bit stuffy wanted something a bit more sporty. So that means independent suspension all round on these, and a nice big 6-cylinder engine. And this one's automatic for that halfway house between absolute hoon machine and magical wafting barge. So yeah, look, it's even a problem if you're naming the club. It's got to cater for all these cars. But we should probably take a look inside, where we can find some delightful features. Can we get the steering wheel straight, just to make it look its best? Straight enough. I shall hop aboard, and we can take in this beautiful dashboard. Lots of wood going on in here, a modern head unit because the owner likes to actually drive his car. See the automatic gear selector there. Sorry, I'm having to shade the camera from the sun, but at least you'll note I'm not wearing sandals today. One difference this car does have, these are UK market trims. New Zealand ones had their own wood because a certain amount had to be locally produced, but they just screwed straight through the wood, put them in the door, so I think a lot of them just split in rather tedious ways. Magical spring-loaded grab handles, just in case you thought that was a new invention. But the seat vinyl, that is Kiwi vinyl there, grown on real Kiwi plastic cows. And very hard wearing apparently as well. Notice head restraints, fairly unusual for the time in the 1970s. And oh, we've even got cup holders on this one. That's a bit posh, not standard fare. Seatbelts, lever to recline, and if we look ahead, nice sporty binnacle. You've got to have a rev counter, obviously. And the Triumph display unit also used on these small saloons ahead. But a nice driving position. The windscreen feels very low, but you'll note we've got fresh air ventilation, which you can aim at your face. We've got a rotary switch there for the headlamps, and indicators right, of course. Wipers on the other side. But yeah, a very, very pretty dashboard, I should say. Let's just check out the back. Here in the back, it's definitely no Pla. We've got no picnic tables, and my feet are struggling a bit to go under the seat in front, but it's reasonably spacious. The seatbelt is slightly irritating. They're a good idea to fit if you have children. They wouldn't have been standard fit when new, but as you can see, look at all the glass around me. It's very, very light and airy in here. You get a pretty good view of the road ahead because the windscreen feels massive from here. And you get a nice shot of the interior as well. You get your little ashtray here. I wonder if that was a locally produced item. And map reading pockets, which I understand were also fitted to the Dolomite. Manual windows, do they go all the way down? Ooh, so very nearly. And you'll note there isn't a quarter light, but if we get out and look at the door design, you'll see why that is able to drop. Oh, listen to that luxurious vinyl. The door actually finishes ahead of the rear wheel arch, so it's a very long wheelbase, so that enables the glass to drop down without issue. Absolutely perfect. Under the bonnet, a nice big 6-cylinder engine, twin carburetors here as well. This one has a few extras, like a bit of a sporty extractor manifold on it, which must make it sound quite pleasant. It's quite an interesting engine. It's a 6-cylinder development of Triumph's earlier 4-cylinder engine, which itself was a development of a Massey Ferguson tractor engine. Some claim there's almost nothing shared between the two, but they certainly have a shared heritage, even if yeah, the TR engines ended up quite punchy, whereas tractor engines generally aren't. But yeah, some lovely details under here. We have to walk around the flip-up bonnet, which does flip up to quite the angle, hopefully not while you're driving. And over this side we get the distributor, fuel pump and alternator in this case, and there's a fixed fan down the front. Wiper motors over here, and I love this leather belt around the screen wash bottle. Not an original feature, but it somehow looks fitting. It works. A quick thing on wipers. You'll note we've got wipers that park the correct way round for left-hand drive. That was a quirk of British cars at the time. Triumph Dolomite, Morris Marina, very much the same, and a lot of BMC stuff. Australia wouldn't put up with this, so I'm hoping to get my hands on an Australian Triumph 2000 at some point, and I can show you what they did instead, because it's quite interesting, as long as you like wipers as much as I do. Incidentally, this lovely colour, Sable Brown, that's a Jaguar colour, and presumably they were able to use it because the plant that assembled this car in Nelson was also assembling Jaguars. So quite a lot of XJs were New Zealand assembled. Another tasty little nugget. As if by magic, we now have a slightly different car in more ways than one. For a start, this beauty is a 2500 injection. This is the PI version with mechanical Lucas fuel injection. Very unusual for the time. Slightly problematic in service, so they did end up dropping it and replacing it with a sporty twin carburettor version, but slightly groundbreaking nonetheless. This one's got the classic Row style or Ross style wheels. Absolutely love these, very much of their time. And this one was actually assembled in the UK, in Coventry. So it's got the British Leyland plug hole of despair going on as well. Lovely colour, and really only a few subtle differences between this and a New Zealand produced one. Most of it is on the inside, where the wood is just like the other one because that's been changed, but we've got cloth seats rather than the vinyl, although the PI's actually had leather in some markets. And there's the overdrive manual gearbox. Otherwise very similar. You see the vinyl slightly smoother, I think, on the UK built car, but yeah, beautiful machines. Center armrest even. And there we go, Magnum PI. Petrol injection, I presume it stands for. And there we go, injection repeated on the badge there. So this is a UK car, but somehow found its way out to New Zealand in 1974. So it's interesting to compare under the bonnet, where we find ourselves with 3 throttle bodies and big air intake ram for this mechanical fuel injection system. Like a lot of diesels, I guess, but fuel injection on petrol cars didn't really take root until the electronic systems came along in the 1980s, and then they became much more commonplace. Well, they were starting to find their way into cars in the 1970s, but yeah, quite advanced, very, very different. No carburetors. It should all run beautifully, you would hope. There's a big pump in the boot, which was kind of derived from a Lucas wiper motor, and sadly caused a lot of hot running issues in hotter countries, Australia in particular. And that's just one reason why they went back to carburetors for a time. The public weren't quite ready for fuel injection, it seems. Or maybe not British fuel injection. They liked it on the Volkswagen Golf GTI, didn't they? Here's a tasty little nugget of information for you. See that plate there? The New Zealand cars didn't have that, and it's not there for strengthening, it's not there to reinforce that suspension strut. It's purely to allow the body to be lifted during manufacture. But the cars were manufactured differently in New Zealand, and these little plates were not required. Right then, let's start with the 2500 automatic. Straight into life, you burbles. And we shall select drive. We shall shut the stereo up because modern technology. There we go. We shall check our blind spot and we shall accelerate away. And we're wafting along in top gear. So 3-speed automatic, very quick to get to top, doesn't like to linger in the gears too much. Very much for wafting effortlessly, not a very sporty car with the automatic gearbox. But yeah, the driving position, it feels quite commanding because the scuttle is so low. So it feels like I'm sitting quite high up. I'm just going to do my window up a little. It is a particularly warm day. Cheeky in your ute. Yeah, with such good torque, it picks up pace well enough really, and I've got power steering as well. It's got a really nice weight to it. It doesn't feel over assisted. Gives a pretty good feel really for power steering, especially for this era. If you've driven a Jaguar XJ, yeah, the steering's just way too light. It gives no feel. Very much set for ease of driving rather than sporty pretensions. The only downside is the 3-speed gearbox leaves it a little short of gearing once you get up to higher speeds, but yeah, this feels very pleasant. Makes good lusty noises. Yeah, quite direct steering, don't have to turn the wheel much. Right, let's see how fuel injection compares. There we go, there is a manual choke, but we've already warmed her up, so no need for that just now. Quite a heavy clutch, quite a nice snickety sort of gear lever. We've got an overdrive switch on the gear lever, which is slightly misbehaving, but we'll see how we go. And I'm just going to wait because we've got a chance to chase a Ford Mustang, which was unexpected. So straight away this sounds much more purposeful. It makes a very gnarly noise and feels that much quicker because of the manual gearbox. And I suggest, and I may attract flack for this, but this is a lot nicer to drive than that Ford Mustang. No power steering in this one, so the steering is a bit heavier, but it's pretty direct, so you can feel what's going on. This car has a smaller steering wheel, and it also has larger road wheels, so extra weight means a decent workout in the bends. It's got the same supple ride. Oh, he's fretting about the surface dressing. As well you might, I guess. Oh, that's all a bit unfortunate. The Kiwis really do like this as a road surface. It must be horrendous being a motorcyclist here. Oh yes. That is a lot more like it. And there's the overdrive in top. So the overdrive bolts onto the back of the gearbox and acts as an extra gear effectively. It works in third and fourth on these. Some cars it's just fourth gear it works on. And so yeah, effectively all of the gears. The racing drivers actually used to like it. I think the Dolomites had overdrive gearboxes, and they liked it because it was easier to keep the engine right in its power band. But for road use it just means you've got a nice cruising gear, but when you want to enjoy yourself you just leave the overdrive out for higher revs. Another Mustang. Clearly it is Mustang Day here in Christchurch. But as joyous as that engine sound is, I know you're asking the important question, what are the wipers like? So we shall apply screen wash. There we go. I fear there might be a bit of triangular doom going on over there, but not bad considering the wipers are technically the wrong side for right-hand drive. But I think there was a belief that it was better to have the wipers parking in front of the driver so they immediately take any water away from you. But you do leave this corner sort of unswept, so it's not an ideal situation, which is perhaps why it didn't persevere. Drat. Stupid birds. I fear we collected a sparrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to slam the anchors on for a sparrow when there's a big truck behind me there.
Definitely a war, unfortunately. It's quite a different car to the other saloon, isn't it?
Where's the best way to go here?
Look, wherever you can, I would just turn around, probably head back.
Yeah, okay.
Or even actually go left here.
that is a nice noise. For my money, that is every bit as nice in the noise department as the Nissan RB 6-cylinder engine, to be honest. And these are a lot cheaper. I think these are still one of the most underrated classics that money can buy, to be honest. So as the sun quite literally sets on this road test, yeah, it's good to reflect on how well suited this car is to local conditions. In a market where big beefy engines were definitely king, the Triumph 2500, just the job, just the ticket. A very fine car indeed. Lovely cars to drive, still slightly underrated in the classic scene, I feel. I think values are probably a bit lower than they probably deserve to be. But it's a car definitely deserving of attention. They're just absolutely beautiful. And what more could you want from a saloon car? They've got good ride, good handling, good 6-cylinder engine which makes a beautiful noise. Yeah, and gorgeous Italian styling. And so yeah, it's great to see that they were enjoyed not just in the UK but also here in New Zealand. So I shall say thank you very much for watching this latest Hub Nut road test. Don't forget to subscribe before you go and click the bell for notifications when new videos arrive, and we'll see what else I managed to get my hands on here in New Zealand. And yeah, I'm looking for one of these in Australia as well, just to check out the subtle differences. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Farewell. What a beautiful night.